Welcome back, America. Welcome back to Philly Hot Radio. We have had a couple of guests. I was about to say several, but a couple of guests who were very interesting. We had a young man who's running for the mayor of Newark. Yes, only 21 years old. But the thing about it is, when he began to talk about some of his experiences and accomplishments, I was like, wow, he did more at 21 than I did at my blank. I ain't gonna say my age. I ain't gonna say my age.
How old are you?
I'm 54.
I
I'm
was
old.
say 64.
No, 64.
Well, you ain't getting that
Well,
kind
moving on, America. Moving on. But we have, and then we had a candidate for
we had the judge first.
the judge.
He's a lawyer.
Yes.
He's
a lawyer
already
now,
a lawyer,
running for judge.
Democrat. And then we had the young gentleman from New York, Delaware, who is 21,
I'm going to need you to speed this up for me.
Mayor.
I'm going to need you to speed this.
And now,
But now she's trying to beat me to it, America. She's trying to beat me to it.
Did you want
But
to speed up, slow down?
we have another
Oh, you
guest.
just wanted to say his
And
name.
I did, because usually when I tell you
Well,
to
go ahead, say
introduce the
their
guest, you
name.
never do it. So now I get the privilege of doing it. Ladies and gentlemen out there in Philly Hot Radio land, we are about to get into some very, very stimulating conversation because I've never heard this brother speak and it wasn't a stimulating conversation. Never, never. We have right here in our studio, Dr. Umar Johnson. Brother Johnson, first of all, thank you for joining us here at Philly Hot Radio.
Brother, glad to be here. Question.
Sure.
Am I okay this far away from the mic?
You should be,
I'm good.
yes.
Y'all can hear me
Yes.
clearly? Okay.
Yes.
We good. Glad to be here.
You know, you have a distinguished history. You know, we in the Pan African community know you very well, and you've made it so everyone know you. Brother Umar, what have you been up to?
Wow, what have I been up to? Let me go back and give you the journey. Came out of college in 2000, Y2K. That's when I earned my master's in school psychology. Came back to the school district of Philadelphia. Internship year. Fall of 2000, spring 2001. Took the employment test for the school district of Philadelphia as a school psychologist. Came in first. Was with the school district maybe 5-6 years. I left it to go be a principal, assistant principal at one of the local charter schools. Didn't quite like that because of what they was doing to our black boys, so I quit that. During that time, I'm working on my doctorate, which I finally completed in 2012, 8-year process because of racism. But nonetheless, from 2000 until 2005, I had become active in the UNIA down on 16th and Cecil B. Moore, the Marcus Garvey Movement, Universal Negro Improvement Association. I resigned as Minister of Education from the UNIA in 2005. So I left the school district and I left the UNIA at the same time.
Right.
2005, 13 years ago. Went to Africa for the first time. Tremendous experience there. Came back, started my own organization, Team Pan African. And I've just been going ever since then. 2010, things became more global for me. I was invited to Chicago by a Hebrew brother by the name of Dawad to participate in a public access television TV interview. I did that. Didn't think nothing of it. A couple weeks later, I spoke for the first time in Harlem, New York at the National Black Theater, 125th and 5th, the day before Halloween 2010. This entire time, I'm still working as a school psychologist in Philadelphia. Charter schools, private schools, still doing that, still do it now, almost 20 years.
Right.
2000, 2019. So anyway, the interview I did in Chicago became classic. I took it to Harlem 3 weeks later, the night before Halloween, 2010. Made it available to the brothers and sisters who came out. First time in Harlem to a public audience. I've spoken before for the UNIA, but not to the community.
Right.
So Chicago and New York are responsible for where Dr. Umar is vis-a-vis the blessing from the Most High. So within 2 days after the Harlem lecture, October 30, 2010, I was a household name internationally. Before 2010, I was local, Pennsylvania, UNIA, whatever. After 2010, I was international. It's never stopped since. I've probably spoken more in the past 18 years than any scholar in the past 100 years.
Yeah.
Without question, I'm the most popular black scholar probably in the world. I'm definitely the most requested in the world. While I was sitting out there, I just got a request to go to Brazil, Angola, and Sierra Leone. But with all that being said, life is about to transition again. Because as you know, for the past 4.5 years, we've been raising money to build a boys' school.
Yes.
And on February the 14th, I'll be going live on Instagram and Twitter to announce where that first school is going to be.
Wow.
It's been a long, hard journey, but we are there. Yeah. And I'm saying things are going to change because I won't be able to travel as much. Because I got to make sure the children are learning. I got to build a school because we still need renovations and stuff like that. But we will physically have and own the property. Finally.
Right.
You know, so now I go from consciousness raiser to nation builder. And that's going to be a transition for me because I love the audience. I love the stage. I love to motivate. I love to make people laugh. I love to make people think. But I've done that for 8 years, more than all other scholars put together probably. And now it's time for me to do something for the babies. Some people ask me, why didn't you just do a charter school? After all, you're from Philadelphia. You're probably the most popular school psychologist in Philadelphia. You're definitely the most popular radical voice in Philadelphia. Philadelphia has the most charter schools in America. Most of your history has been in the charter schools. Why not open one? And it's real simple. I'm a Garveyite. I'm a Pan-Africanist. And central to nationalism is what? Self-control, self-determination. Charter schools are public schools. We don't own them. The community don't control them. The state owns and controls charter schools. I don't want anything that I do not control. If the state gives it to you, the state can take it back from you. And to that end, Philadelphia didn't have, what, 2 or 3 major black charter schools closed down by the state for frivolous reasons in the past 3 to 5 years. I don't want that. One of the core principles of Pan-Africanism is what? Whatever is to be done for African people, whatever it is, schools, churches, family, employment, whatever is to be done for African people must be done by African people. That's why I don't want a charter school. That's why I went through the hard and laborious struggle of raising money, because I want to determine my curriculum. I don't want nobody coming into my school talking about you got to teach gay studies. I don't want nobody coming into my school telling me I got to allow a transgender teacher. You understand? That is foreign to African culture. We don't believe in that stuff. I respect all African people. I love all African people, but I reserve the right to determine what is in the best interest at my school. The state of Pennsylvania ain't determining what's going to go on in my school. And that's why I'd rather have a little something that I own rather than a whole lot of something that's owned by my slave master.
Wow. And it has been a struggle, a journey getting the school established, because I know you had one place in mind, and then it was
several.
Right. Tell me about that.
We should probably had about a dozen schools already. There was a school in Philadelphia I was going to get. Realtor said Catholic Church wants to get rid of it, make them an offer. I made them an offer. I got a message back saying that they're not able to sell it just yet. I reached out to the realtor. I said, but you're still advertising the school. What do you mean they can't sell it? Why are you advertising it? Never got an answer. He found out who I was. There was another Catholic school I was going to get in Trenton, New Jersey. Nice little place. They found out who I was. Reneged. Several schools in Detroit. I actually thought I would be in Detroit last year. Because the Archdiocese of Detroit has about a dozen schools, most of which we had enough money to buy. But every time they found out who I was, they shut. This has went on for at least 2 of the 4.5 years that we've been raising money. So it's not that we didn't find schools.
Right.
It's the sabotage and the white mail that took place to keep us from getting those schools.
People are intimidated by you. People are intimidated by your mission. Why do you think that is?
Because black people have been cooning for 50 straight years. Ever since Dr. King's assassination, April 4th, 1968, 50 years ago, now 51, this coming April 4th, black leadership has went from agitation to accommodation. Up until 1968, it was all about fighting the system. After 1968, it has been all about joining the system. We went from protest to politics. Up until Dr. King's murder, if we wanted to change or bring something to the black community, we fought, we agitated, we protested, we demanded, we disrupted. After Dr. King's murder, because black leadership became extremely intimidated and afraid of what can happen by being unapologetically African. So as a result, black leadership took a turn for the worse, and they said, listen, I'm not into getting killed for black folks. I mean, I love black folks, but I mean, look what they did to Martin. Look what they did to Malcolm. Look what they did to Medgar. Let's go to Africa. Look what they did to Lumumba. Look what they did to Biko. Look what they did to Sobukwe. Look what they did to Amilcar Cabral. I don't want none of that. Blowing up cars and chopping people into pieces. They scared our leadership. They scared our leadership. And so the leadership, in turn, to stay relevant, had to lie to the people. They had to say there's a better way to do this. We have the Civil Rights Bill of 64. We have the Voting Rights Act of 68. The government is kind of giving us some things. Let's stop fighting and let's see if we can build a relationship with our oppressor. Name me a people in human history who have ever been able to build a relationship with their oppressor. But Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, the NAACP, the Urban League, the Congressional Black Caucus, they have managed to exist by building a relationship with their oppressor. And central to that relationship is allowing their oppressor to finance their agendas. One of the biggest differences in the black struggle pre-68, post-68, is the financing of the black struggle by the very same people we're supposed to be fighting. That's a contradiction. So black leadership has never been the same, and the black community has never been the same. In a new, more sophisticated black bourgeoisie has been created that is unaccountable to the black masses for its behavior. And black leadership is no longer about articulating the demands of the black community. It is more about simply getting a seat at the table and speaking to black people's concerns without actually delivering tangible goods, access, services, and programs. When you look at most national black leaders, they are ambulance chasers. They look for the hot issues in the black community to do what? Stay relevant. Why is it important to stay relevant if you're not making a difference? Because staying relevant guarantees me national television time. That guarantees me CNBC. That guarantees me ABC. And why is it important to be on TV? Twofold. Partly because it feeds your ego. And secondly, it signals to the white power structure that I am the head Negro in charge. As such, the white power structure will seek to do what? Financially appease you as a leader so that you never come out publicly against that corporation. This is how Jesse and Al and others, and I'm only using them metaphorically. I have nothing against them personally, but they're the two best examples of this. Build your name amongst the black community. And then you sell yourself to the white corporations, not directly, but by showing them that if you upset me, I can rouse up my community. So if you want me to keep my community dumb, deaf, and blind, you better guarantee a steady stream of revenue from your pocket to mine. Black leadership is no longer a calling. It is a business. It is HNIC Incorporated.
You know, there was something I heard you say. And today there's a number of performers. We're looking now to celebrities now to be our spokesperson of our issues and et cetera. And I heard you say something to the effect about performers and their ability to affect change. What do you think about that?
Let me explain it. How did mainstream non-elected black political figures achieve prominence? They achieved prominence only because the blacks who we elect to city council, the mayorship, state rep, U.S. rep, state senator, U.S. senator, alderperson, whatever you name, those who are officially selected to represent the interests of the black community have failed us. So they created a vacuum into which the black preacher can step in and assume that role. Opportunistic black leaders can step in and assume that role. So the only reason why Jesse and Al became popular is because mainstream elected political black leadership has done nothing for the community but exploited. Now, you bring up the athletes and the entertainers, the black celebrity class. Why are they the spokespersons now? For the exact same reason. Just as opportunistic preachers in community organizations, community leaders stepped in to fill a void left by the politicians, well, guess what? In the post-Barack Obama era, where police genocide is running rampant, national civil rights organizations don't have an answer for police genocide. The National Action Network has no answer for police genocide. The Rainbow Coalition has no answer for police genocide. So do you know what that means? That made Jesse and Al irrelevant because voting doesn't stop police from killing kids. So guess what? Young black folks in the post-Obama era said, we've had enough of Jesse and Al because voting isn't the answer to police genocide. So they got pushed to the side. So once again, you have a vacuum in the white power structure. Never wants a leaderless black America. Why doesn't the white power structure want a leaderless black America? Because if you have a black America without leaders, then naturally, organically, they will grow up from the people. We don't want Dr. Umar Johnson becoming the national leader for black people. He's not a Mason. He's not an Elk. He's not a Shriner. He's not a Kappa. He's not a Q. He's not an Alpha. He's not a Sigma. He's not an Iota. He's not a homosexual. He don't belong to no cliques. We can't control that man. White people didn't pay for his college. White people don't own him. White people didn't save him. We have no control over that man. You see? So what we have to do is pick our leaders. Since we don't have any politicians they respect, we have very few national black leaders that they respect because they have basically capitulated to the power of police genocide. There's a vacuum. So guess what white power has done? We're going to make rappers the spokespersons. We're going to make actors the spokespersons. We're going to make comedians the spokespersons. We're not choosing them to speak for us. This is white power. And why do they prefer an entertainer? Because entertainers are rich. They are comfortable. They cannot make white people mad at them or they lose money. Most rap albums are bought by white suburban kids. Yes, we don't buy, we get the bootlegs. Okay? Hip hop is a white industry. It's controlled by whites and it's patronized by whites. We go to the concerts, but white people buy the music. Oh yes, go to any suburb and you will hear it thumping out of their father's $600,000 Mercedes. You see?
And I have heard it.
So they prefer the celebrities because the celebrities will never get out of line because they're too comfortable financially and they depend on white people liking them to be successful. Someone who depends on white approval can never be a leader of black folks. Why? Because in order to effectively lead black people, you're going to piss off a whole hell of a lot of whites.
And so, Brother Umar, so what can people do? You know, as you said, I got to raise this issue. There was something I saw on Facebook. It was a picture of, I guess it's a black neighborhood, but the buildings were dilapidated and run down, the graffiti and stuff on the wall. It was obviously run down under the white presidents and white elected officials. And then they said, on the top it said something like this neighborhood under white leadership. Then they had the same picture, no difference, the same picture, in the same buildings, same dilapidation, same poor conditions, and it said this neighborhood under black leadership, black mayor, black president. Nothing has changed, in other words.
And it never will.
And why?
The reason why black politicians can never deliver anything to the black community is because 99% of all black politicians belong to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. We have very few independent candidates. If you don't have independent candidates, you don't have independent thinking. If you don't have independent political candidates, you don't have independent thinking. So for me, I will never vote for a black politician again in life if they are not independent. Because if you are a Democrat, that means you are obligated to uphold the Democratic Party's agenda. And the Democratic Party's agenda has never been about saving black folks. If it did, why did Bill Clinton revolutionize mass incarceration and lock up more black men than any Republican candidate you can name? Why? So Democrat, Republican is all white power. And here's the more dangerous aspect of belonging to the Democratic Party. Why did they join the party in the first place? To get funding. I'm going to join the Democratic Party so they can fund my council run, so they can fund my state rep run, so they can fund my state senator run. I'm not voting for no Negro who's not an independent politician. If you're a Democrat, you're useless because you're going to do what they tell you to do, because you don't want to fall out with the party, because you need their votes and you need their backing. The hand that pays is the hand that rules. But I'm not going to blame the politicians totally for this. The people also have responsibility. Because guess what? We're not redirecting our spending so we can fund our own candidates. We're not redirecting any of that $2 million a year Air Jordan money. We're not redirecting any of that $4 billion a year liquor and booze money. Black women aren't redirecting that $16 million a year perm and weave money. You see? So we are as responsible as the politician, because until we say to the politician, I need you to be independent and I'm going to finance you. What's the name of the current mayor of Philadelphia right now? What's his name?
Mayor Kenny.
Jim Kenny.
Okay, Mayor Kenny. Let's say you want to run against Mayor Kenny. He's an incumbent. He got a lot of white power behind him. I have to come to you and say, listen, brother, if you want our vote, you're not Democrat, you're not Republican. The only master you got is God in your race. You will not be a slave to the Democratic Party. How much money do you think you need to outseat Mayor Kenny? And then you're going to say, Dr. Umar, when Mayor Kenny ran, he won off $2 million. I'm going to need twice that because he's an incumbent. I need radio promotions. I need TV. I'm going to put an election office in every ward in Philadelphia. I'm going to get a street team. I'm going to pay these kids to go door to door and put my propaganda in everybody's mail slot. On election day, I need to rent 20 cars so we can get out and vote push. I'm going to host my own town hall debate with the mayor that's going to ask the questions that nobody else is going to ask him. I need $4 million to do this, and most money goes to media, right?
Right.
We're going to give you that money. So when you win, you don't owe the Democrats nothing. You don't owe the Republicans nothing. But guess what?
You owe us.
You don't owe the white teachers nothing. You don't owe the white police nothing. You don't owe none of the secret societies nothing. And you don't owe none of the sodomy tribes, the secret gay movements in Philadelphia. You don't owe them nothing either. You follow me? We need you to be able to only be concerned with one thing: the best interests of your people and staying alive. That's it. That's how you run an election. Now, my question is, show me a neighborhood in America, not just Philadelphia, but in America where that is being done. Nowhere. All black politicians are rented out by the Democratic and Republican Party to exploit their own people. We don't have independent politicians because we don't have an independent political finance system to keep our own loyal to our own.
So tell me what could be done. Like the average person listening to this and they're saying, wow, you know, that sounds good, but what can I, little me, what can I do? What would your answer be?
The Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, greatest black leader of the 20th century, the only man to organize 15 million Africans without a penny from the white man and without an internet, airplane, or social network, said the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. By yourself, you can do nothing. But together, we can do everything. There's an African proverb: sticks in a bundle are unbreakable. Alone, we just sticks. In a bundle, we are unbreakable. And we need that bundle to be set on fire in the name of African revolution and liberation. What you can do is unite with other Africans. Nobody can do this alone. Dr. Umar can't do it alone. As the late, great Kwame Ture Stokely Carmichael said, the leader may lead the revolution, but it is the people that makes the revolution. There is no revolution without the people. So until we get the people, we can't get free. That means what? That the most important revolution in the black community, globally now, because we don't know no borders. That's Pan-Africanism, there's no borders. I don't see no border between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I don't see no border between Pennsylvania and Maryland. I don't see no border between Pennsylvania and Delaware. I don't see no border between Black America and Black England, Black America, Black Africa, Black Caribbean. I don't see no borders. One race. Now, before you can have an educational revolution, family revolution, economic revolution, political revolution, you got to have a psychological revolution. What did Dr. Carter G. Woodson say, who was a friend of Mr. Garvey's and a contributor to the Negro world? If you control a man's thinking, if you control a man's thinking, you need not worry about his actions. By virtue of controlling his mind, you know what he will do. And if he needs to go to the back door, he need not wait for you to tell him. He will go on his own. And when he gets to the back, if there is no door, he will make one. That's what the inferiority complex has done to black folks. For example, I just learned that Lee Daniels from Philadelphia, right here, creator of Empire, has a new movie coming out called Pimp, starring Keke Palmer. She's a lesbian pimp. The trailer's on YouTube. He just came out last week and said he wants to put out the first black comic book character who's gay. And it's based off of a boy who became famous on Instagram calling himself Super Bitch. You can look all this up online. It's a boy called Super Bitch. He dresses up in women's clothing and he goes around fighting against injustice, and his name is Super Bitch. Lee Daniels wants to turn that into a movie. Why do I have a problem with this? We ain't got a movie on the Garvey movement yet. We haven't had a movie on the Mau Mau. We haven't had a movie on Kwame Nkrumah's Ghanaian Revolution. We haven't had a movie on Queen Mother Nandi of the Maroons, who defeated the Europeans, a black woman in the mountains of Jamaica, and kept them out. We ain't had a movie, a true movie, on the civil rights movement to really show us how we brought America to its knees. So many movies we've not had. Denmark Vesey still needs a movie. Gabriel Prosser still needs a movie. Queen Mother Harriet has an old movie, but she needs a new one. All these great periods in the African history that we can use to motivate and invigorate our people, and instead he wants to make movies about super bitches and gay lesbian pimps. Psychological revolution. And here's the problem. The longer we wait, the worse the collective consciousness becomes. Brother, believe you me, Social Network couldn't have come at a worse time for us. Do you feel me?
I do.
What is Social Network? It is an international media platform, absolutely free to its subscribers, that allows you to broadcast whatever you want to the whole world, no matter how disrespectful it is, no matter how degenerate it is, no matter how untrue it is, unfiltered. Before Social Network, you had to get a newspaper to put that story in there. You had to get a magazine to put that story in there.
Right.
You had to get a radio station to run that story. There's an editor. That's why they have editors to proof what stories is going in here. Not with Social Network. An 8-year-old kid can open up a Twitter and not only put out stories, he can put out selfie videos, and you understand, open up a Facebook page and put lies out and filth. When I go through Facebook, you know what I see? Nothing but the highlighting of the worst acts of self-disrespect in our community. I'm seeing people film fights of our children. I'm seeing people film men beating on women. I'm seeing people filming women twerking. You go on Instagram. Instagram is damn near a soft porn platform. Every black woman wants to show her curves. They ain't talking about nothing. They ain't thinking about nothing. But the minute somebody touches her, me too. I'm twerking all day long on Instagram. I'm twerking all day long on Instagram. My breast is out, my butt is out. But if you touch me, I'ma me too your ass. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Bill Cosby sitting in a cell for something I don't think he did. simply because he didn't learn how to stay away from white women, and the white power structure decided to use the same women Bill Cosby took company with to destroy him. I hope black men took a lesson from the Cosby case. And what is that lesson? You can sleep with all the white women you want, you can sex them, you can marry them, you can give them your babies, but at the end of the day, she is loyal to her own race. Her love of you does not distract her from her obligations to white power. Only black people are distracted by their obligations to black power.
The music industry, the music, movies, I'm going to just say media, all of the black media in general. Now, what can grassroots people do? Because we have it, we have it just like those who pervert our culture have access to it. How do you think we could use it now to really change what's being portrayed on it?
Number one, and I proudly speak on behalf of the founders of the first black newspaper in America, John Brown Russwurm, Pan-Africanist before Garvey from Jamaica. He's the first black man in America to get a college degree. He co-founded Freedom's Journal in New York with Samuel Cornish. The first black newspaper was founded by Pan-Africanists to do what? Agitate and educate. Black media got two responsibilities. Inform us, educate, and then help us fight, agitate. They not doing either. Guess what black media has become? An ambulance chaser for sensationalism, gossip, character assassination, and anything negative that keeps black people's attention. Black media is a disgrace. The best thing that your station can do and other grassroots stations can do, stick to covering real news. I would be very disappointed to find out that Philly Hott Radio is spending most of its time talking about the NBA or the NFL or the next Beyonce concert or the latest reality show or Meek Mill's next album. You can touch on it quickly, but that is not your purpose. You are not here to entertain. You are here to educate, invigorate, and agitate. Black media has gotten away from its agitation and education requirement, and we are now just sensationalism. Ebony Jet sensationalism. Nearly every black newspaper I read, sensationalism. Shout out to the Nation of Islam's Final Call. Shout out to the Nation of Islam's Final Call. Shout out to the Amsterdam News of New York. Shout out to the Amsterdam News of New York because they still cover real news. They still, and we got some other ones. Scoop does a good job of keeping to, but Scoop is kind of been taken over by the black bourgeoisie. There's a lot of things in Philadelphia going on that they're not dealing with, but it's still better than most. So we need to refocus black media, especially now, brother, because we are in our worst period in our sojourn in America. Okay? We've been here for 400 years as of this coming August the 21st, Nat Turner Day, 2019. And I don't think that's a coincidence. That the quadricentennial of blacks, 400 years, August 20th, 1619. August the 21st, 2019 will be our first day of our 5th century. That's also Nat Turner Day. That's also Haitian Revolution Day. That's also George Jackson Day. That's also the day I was born, 821, right? Let's look at these 4 centuries. From 1619 to 1719. That was a century of trauma. We got snatched up by these white folks. These Neanderthals came and took us, whipping us, beating us, changing our names. What the white man did to the black man that first century, we never even heard of it. We never even had literature that talked about the dehumanizing experience that he put us through. And let's be clear, slavery was dehumanization. Slavery wasn't about free work. Slavery was about the dehumanization of the African. So that was 1619, 1719, trauma. 1719, 1819, a fight for what? Our humanity. Some of us forget. Before we could fight to be free, we had to fight to prove we were people. We forget it. We had to prove that we were human beings. We're the only people who have ever been enslaved in world history, including the Bible. Including the Bible and the Quran. We're the only people ever who were stripped of their humanity during their enslavement. So 1719 to 1819 was the fight for our humanity. 1819 to 1919 was a fight for what? Liberation. Take the chains off. Civil War. Nat Turner. Gabriel Prosser. Denmark Vesey. Haitian Revolution. The birth of Elijah Muhammad. The birth of Marcus Garvey. You see? And then 1819 to, no, I'm right, 1919 to 2019. This 100 here, we got to break it up into two parts. We got to go from 1919 to 1968.
Okay.
Are you following me?
I do.
And then we got to go from 68 to today. Why do we got to break it up? Because the first half of the current 100-year epic, 1919 to 2019, right, began with Garvey. 1919 is the height of Garvey in America to where we at today. In the middle, you got Dr. King, right?
Right.
We began the 1900s with the same strength and focus that we ended the 1800s. Oh yes, we was on a mission, civil rights, fighting Jim Crow, the Garvey movement. We was good. Dr. King, civil rights, voting rights, we kept it. And then all of a sudden, the white man, the United States government said, we got to do something about this. They're coming too far, too fast, demanding too much. And they got with the Italian mafia, and they orchestrated a chemical drug war against the black community.
And you know, I was going to go there too.
That we have not recovered from yet. That cocaine that he threw on us destroyed our infrastructure because it turned leaders into fiends. It turned pastors into thieves. It turned mothers into prostitutes. It wasn't just the dope, but it was what the dope did as a consequence to the community. But the dope wasn't by itself. Let's break down these last 50 years. And by the way, I'm working on a book called One Step Forward, Three Steps Backward. The history of Black America from Dr. King to Donald Trump. One step forward, three steps backward. The history of Black America from Dr. King to Donald Trump. And Barack Obama is getting a whole chapter to his sellout self. Barack Hussein Obama gets a whole chapter to his sellout self. He was not no hero. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing who took everything black people fought for and gave it to the gays, immigrants, white women. Now, post Dr. King. King is murdered in 68, 1970. What was the first weapon of mass destruction? The deindustrialization of the inner city. What happened in Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, Durham, Atlanta, LA, Houston, Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Paul? What did they do? They came into the city and took the factories out. And then they went into the high schools and took the industrial training programs out. Your grandmother and grandfather, just like mine, I'm willing to bet, did not need a college degree to live a comfortable life.
They did not.
I'm guaranteed that your great-grandparents didn't need a college degree to live a comfortable life. They were carpenters, they were plumbers, they were brick masons, they were welders, they were barbers, they were bakers, they were beauticians, they worked with their hands. And the white man said, we got to put an end to that. And guess why they put an end to that? Because it was the entrepreneur, the skilled entrepreneur who funded King, who funded Elijah, who funded Garvey, who funded the Panthers. They said, where is the power base? Where are they getting money to do this? Because we're not funding them. And the FBI said, all these black men and women who got their own little shops and businesses, they funding the black struggle. So they said, okay, we're going to cut that. Kill the factory jobs. Kill the training programs in the high schools. And tell black people if they want to make anything out of themselves, they have to go to college. And as a result of that, for the past 51 years, we've been sending every black child in Philadelphia and around this country to college. And the only thing they're getting is a life of debt to the banks of America. There's over 2 million black people in this country with college degrees who can't find a job anywhere. College ain't helping us. But every black kid who's going to graduate this June out of Philly, guess where they going?
Right.
College, so they can do what? Debt. They want to get their share of slave debt. Now, when I went to college, I'm a school psychologist. I was the last class of black college graduates where college still had some relevance. You follow me? Y2K, now, these kids, I'm not sending no black kids to college unless you can answer me 3 questions.
What are they?
Number 1, and these questions are to the parent, not the child. Number 1, did you raise your child with enough self-discipline to finish college if you're not around? Because they'll go to Westchester, Cheney, Lincoln, Millersville. They'll go to Penn State, Drexel, IUP. They'll go to LaSalle, 2 years, smoke some weed, get somebody pregnant, play some basketball, and get kicked out on academic probation. Don't send them there if you know that you didn't raise them with the discipline to finish. Number 2, what is your child going to major when they get to college? Are they going to major in something relevant? Or are they going to get one of these degrees that I'm not quite clear what it means, right? Your daughter going to get a bachelor's degree in European art history. What job she going to get? Your grandson got a PhD in grasshopper reproduction on the moon. What job is he going to get? Your nephew got a master's degree from Harvard University, magna cum laude, in ladybug sex during the summer. What job is he going to get? We have too many black kids getting degrees that don't mean nothing from prestigious universities. And because the university is prestigious, we overlook the fact that the degree means nothing. So they took the economics and distracted us with college. 1970s was the decade of economic disintegration in the black community. They created poverty. It existed already, but they put it on a whole new level. 1980s, crack devastated the black community. 1990, Bill Clinton, crime bill. Mandatory 3 strikes and you're out. Mandatory sentencing for nonviolent drug-related offenses. Filled up the jails more than any Republican president you can name. Year 2000, Y2K, new millennium. George Bush is the president. And guess what he gave us? Faith-based initiative. Money to black churches so they can shut up, stay out of the struggle, and mind their business. And anyone who disagrees with me, name me a black church in America. And if you want to stick to Philly, stick to Philly. Name me a black church in Philadelphia, the birthplace of the black boule. Because you do know the boule was founded in Philadelphia. This is the heart and soul of a bougie Negro. Name me a black church in Philadelphia that is on the front lines fighting for blacks in miseducation, on the front lines fighting for blacks mass incarceration, on the front lines fighting for blacks police genocide, on the front lines fighting for blacks economic redistribution of the wealth. Name me a church, please, that is doing something of relevance to help black people in America. You can't, because George W. Bush found a way for churches to get grants, government grants for after school and summer and this and that, and because they're getting paid, they cannot be found.
Brother Umar, there's one thing, there's one pet peeve. I have many pet peeves.
Sure.
The government is now, and I hate drugs. Drugs and alcohol, to me, you know, it's because it does something to the person that takes it. It eradicates who they are. But now the government is stepping into it. And I'm not just talking about medicinal to those who may have a physical ailment or whatever and need them. I'm talking about now they're contemplating, and some places already legislated, approving recreational drugs, you know, to keep us inebriated.
I do not support the marijuana recreation movement. I'm going to tell you why. We know that cigarettes and alcohol kill more people every year than marijuana and hard drugs. More people die from cigarettes and alcohol than marijuana and hard drugs. We know that. I don't have a problem with marijuana use for medicinal purposes. Somebody got cancer, somebody got some other issue, and the marijuana, you know, eases the pain. I have no problem. I'm not speaking of medicinal. I'm speaking of recreation. And my objection has nothing to do with health, not physical health. It has to do with mental health and political health. The last thing you need to give an oppressed, lazy ass people is another distraction to keep their ass oppressed and lazy. So you got black folks, we ain't got no schools, we ain't got no hospitals, we ain't got no banks, we ain't got no supermarkets, we ain't got no ships, we ain't got no distribution, we ain't got no factories, we ain't got no common sense. And on top of all that, you're gonna give us the right to smoke weed all day long? We will never get to where we need to be if you give us recreational drugs. It is a political sedative. In slavery, the master made us go to church on Sunday. He didn't care about Jesus. But in church, they made you sing. In church, they made you clap. In church, they made you pray. In church, they made you dance. Do you know what the master was doing? He was making sure he exhausted all your revolutionary energy. So by the time you had to go back to the plantation Monday morning, you was happy again. He had to get that revolution out of you. He made you drink. You was made to get drunk during slavery to kill your revolutionary fervor. This recreation marijuana movement is a movement to kill the revolutionary passion of young blacks by hooking a whole generation on dirty marijuana. And the reason I say dirty marijuana, you ain't gonna sit here and tell me that the United States government doesn't have a plan to taint the drugs that come into the black community so that it affects black men's reproduction and affects black women's reproduction and causes cancer and everything else. If you think the food is killing us, if you think the food is killing us, wait 20 years from now when you start seeing the aftershocks of what the marijuana going to do to us. This is part of a bigger plan that ain't got nothing to do with you being happy and high.
And another thing, and you wrote a book too on this topic, a very extensive book concerning the medication of our children in schools, and this many parents buy into it.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
What could you say about that?
Let me break it down. Lord have mercy. ADD, Attention Deficit Disorder, was created out of thin air by the American Psychiatric Association in 1980. Same year, the CIA dropped off crack. This drug, this diagnosis was used almost exclusively on boys. Almost exclusively at schools where they're being taught almost exclusively by white women. But guess what? There's no drug that can make you pay attention. So in 1987, they took ADD and put an H between the two D's. And it went from attention deficit disorder to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Why did they add the H? They added the H because there's no drug that can make you pay attention. Ritalin can't make you pay attention. Adderall can't make you pay attention. Concerta can't make you pay attention. Metadate can't make you pay attention. No drug can force you to learn about Christopher Columbus, Ellen Keller, or Anne Frank. Okay? So they said, we're going to make everybody hyper because the drugs only do one thing: disrupt natural brain activity to calm down the central nervous system. So today, if your child just don't pay attention, he ain't hyper, he just don't pay attention, he still gets labeled ADHD to justify the medication. A $30 billion industry, all of which companies are publicly traded on Wall Street. Listen, there is no mental health in America. There's no mental health. There's only mental hustling in America. They make up labels because the labels equal money and it equals stock return for their investors. Here's the question I got for white America. If drugs are bad and you're locking up millions of black men for selling and using crack, if it ain't good for adults, I'm assuming it ain't good for children. So why is it that you will lock up a black man 5, 10, 15, 20 years for selling crack, but you will take the same crack that sent his father to prison and you will give it to his son right here in the public schools of Philadelphia and call that crack Ritalin, call that crack Adderall, call that crack Concerta, call that crack Metadate, call that crack Cycler, and give it to the boy whose daddy got locked up for selling it, but you'll give it to his son so he can sit still long enough to be miseducated by lazy-ass white teachers who don't give a damn about whether your son learns or not. That's why I titled my book, Psychoacademic Holocaust. This is an extermination.
And parents are being made to buy into or being seduced.
They're being seduced. I love that word.
Talk
There
about
you
that.
go. They're being seduced. Because when you go to the school about your child, they're not going to tell you that Ritalin kills the brain cells. They're not going to tell you that Metadate will mess with your son psychologically. He might start hallucinating. They're not going to tell you that these drugs mess with your organs, stunt your growth, cause tic disorder, psychosis, depression, suicidal thoughts. They're not going to tell you none of that. Well, we have some medicine for you. It has worked wonders for other boys in our school. And the mother, single, 4 kids, 3 kids. Most black kids are raised by the mother. Not because fathers are no good, but because all the fathers are in jail. And the white feminist movement, has convinced black women that the black man is her problem. So not only is the father not there because the white man disadvantaged him, the white woman tells the black woman that he's a lazy, shiftless Negro and don't have a job because he don't want to work. And they say, instead of worrying about these black men, go get you a nice white man like Senator Kamala Harris wants to do with the White House, put a white man in front of our black daughters and say, hey, you don't need black men anymore, come get a white one. Just like the Meghan Markle marriage to Prince Harry. Same thing, selling black girls white men. And it's all in the favor of what? Destruction of the black family. But that word you said, seduced. They're seduced to put their children on these drugs because they're not told the truth. Seduction is the opposite of truth. Seduce or the truth, one or the other. And the moms don't know, but here's what happens. They give into it because they think it's going to help, right? Right. And it does. He now sits still, but he's also sleeping all day. You follow me? Gotcha. All day. Now he ain't learning. But the teacher don't care because she don't care if he learns. She just needed him to act right. Public school is an extension of the prison system. And just like with any other inmate, what is the #1 responsibility of the CO? To monitor behavior. What do they do in public schools in Philadelphia? Their #1 concern is what? Behavior. They don't care if your son can learn. They don't care if he's smart. They don't care if he's gifted. We don't give a damn about that. We only want him to control himself. Public school and prison are one and the same. Instruments of control. The only difference is the prison got beds and the public school don't. So hold on. She gave her son this medicine. Now he don't want to eat. Or he overeating, gaining too much weight, losing too much weight. Now the mother says, he ain't taking that no more. Then guess what the school does? Child Protective Services, DHS. I would like to make a report. We have a young man in our school, 8-year-old Randy Jackson. He's been diagnosed with ADHD. He's been prescribed Ritalin and Concerta. And we found out today from him, because we don't teach our kids to keep their damn mouth shut. We found out from little Randy that his mother hasn't given him his medicine in over 2 weeks. This is an anonymous report. Next thing you know, they're knocking at the mother's door, investigating her. And guess what they do? They're going to threaten her. Put him back on them drugs. If you don't put him back on the drugs, we're taking Randy. But guess what? We're not only going to take Randy. We're going to take Rashida. We're going to take Raheem. We're going to take Raquita. We taking all the kids because that's what they do. They don't just take the one. They find you unfit and they take all your kids out your house. It's called medical neglect. That's the new word. I want everybody to hear this. Medical neglect. Failure to give your child psychiatric medications for a diagnosis that you can't even prove exists. Do you know you can't even prove ADHD? Did you know you can't prove conduct disorder? Did you know you can't prove oppositional defiant disorder? Did you know you can't prove mild mental retardation? You can't even prove it. It's an idea. Let's not stop. You can't prove an emotional disturbance. And guess what else you can't prove? You can't prove a reading disability. And you can't prove a math disability. And guess what? Most black kids in special ed for reading and math, they don't have reading and math learning disabilities. They got lazy disabilities. They asses is lazy. They don't want to learn. They don't want to apply themselves. And they got a mother and father at home that's just as lazy as they are. That's why I want my own school. It won't be no special ed, won't be no Ritalin, won't be no ADHD, won't be no conduct disorder. So then parents say, well, Dr. Umar, if you're not gonna have special ed, if you're not gonna have a program for the learning disabled, if you ain't gonna get an ADHD boy's medicine, how are you gonna deal with this? Real simple. For the ones who can't sit still, we're gonna work their ass so much they'll be begging for some downtime. You understand? Because we black men. You understand? We know how. Oh, you don't want to sit still? Come. We're going to clean up the whole neighborhood tonight. Oh, yeah. Oh, you over there? You got a reading disability? Well, I got good news for you. Your ass come to school on Saturdays, too. You got a math disability? Your ass is in school right after church. After white Jesus, you got these white textbook pages. And how much you want to bet? After 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, I promise you, I won't have a reading disability. I won't have a math disability. I won't have no damn mild retarded kids. There won't be no ADHD, no conduct disorder, and no dope. Because the hustle that our kids run on their mothers, they will not run it at the Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, RBG, International Leadership Academy for Pan-African Excellence. Our motto is, we have been average too long. It's time to be excellent.
Wow. And the other aspect of that is they also bribe
You can
parents
get a check. You
to.
can get an SSI check.
Tell me more about that.
Okay. SSIs for people with impairments and disabilities. So what they say is, once we put them in special ed, you can take this report to the SSI office and get him evaluated again by the SSI psychologist. So you got the school psychologist in the school district that put him in special ed. But now you got to get evaluated by the Social Security Administration psychologist to determine if you really have an impairment. And then you'll get your little $650 a month. Is that worth it though? Is $650 a month worth your son walking around for the rest of his life thinking he can't be as good as other children? And let me be clear, in my professional opinion, 20 years, I would consider myself an expert. In my professional opinion, the worst outcome or side effect of special ed isn't the special ed. It isn't the low outcomes. It's the child's self-esteem. His belief that he can't do as well as others because the adults in his life have convinced him that he has a disorder that can't even be proven to exist. The learning disability is a goddamn lie.
So when parents, and I'm hoping there are, especially women, especially mothers, I'm hoping there's some out there listening to this. And I'm hoping that those who may have been approached with, we're diagnosed, there's some problems with your son or your daughter, and we've diagnosed them with this, and then we need you to come to the school. What would you tell them?
I would say black mothers and fathers, but especially mothers because they're raising most of the children alone, need to learn 2 3-word phrases. If they can learn to recite these 2 3-word phrases, they can use this one or they can use that one, they can save their kids. The first one is, no thank you. Okay? The first one is, we don't know how to say no to white people. Listen, I was on the phone today helping some parents out. First grader in special ed for a reading disability. 6 years old.
Wow.
How the hell you got a reading disability at 6? Your ass just learned your alphabet. So guess what I asked the mother? Why did you decide to let a 6-year-old child get evaluated by white people for special ed? Guess what she told me? The teacher thought it was a good idea. What did you think? You his damn mother, didn't you carry him? She said, I didn't think he needed it, but the teacher did. So you see what's going on? We subjugate our own mind and opinion to what white folks want to do with our kids. Most black parents give me the same answer. Why did you do this? They asked me to. So if a white man pull up and tell your ass to get in the truck, you going to get in the truck? It's like some white folks walk in, we lose our mind and start doing whatever the hell they want us to do. Learn how to just say no. And we don't know how to do that. Furthermore, we live in Philadelphia, right?
Right.
One of the worst academically performing school districts in the country. How can you come to me to tell me my son got a learning disability when he goes to a school that has been documented, don't know how to teach. This school ain't made AYP since AYP started. And you want to put him in special ed. No, we won't put your ass in special ed. That's what we need to do. Put the teachers in special ed and put the parents in special ed. You know what they're really doing? They're blaming the kids for the faults of the adults.
Right.
I have never been in a meeting in my life where somebody said, is it possible? I've never heard this in my life, what I'm about to say. I've never heard it except from me. Is it possible that there's nothing wrong with Randy? Is it possible, Miss Slurbanowski? Is it possible, Mrs. Silberberg? Is it possible, Miss Rabinowski, that you can't teach black children? Is the problem that you Caucasians can't teach our kids? Is it possible that you're the problem and not Randy? I've never heard nobody blame the teachers. They always blame the kids.
Now, the effects of these drugs.
Oh, man. Kill brain cells, cause suicidal thinking. When I was working on my doctorate, I had a Jewish professor tell me in class. I had a Jewish professor tell me in class, at least 10 to 15% of the violence in the inner cities is directly attributed to the side effects of childhood psychiatrics. He told me that in class. Why you don't hear that on CNN? Why you don't get that on Al Jazeera? You know why? Because all systems of the white power structure must protect each other.
Right.
You see? So the school will never indict the prison will never indict the school. The hospital will never indict the Food and Drug Administration. The Food and Drug Administration will never indict the hospital. Right? You would think, I'm going to speak up against the bad food. I'm going to speak up against the bad medicine. I'm going to speak up against the bad schools. You notice how all these institutions that have competing interests are all on the same page when it comes to us. Because we have been through a fight for survival. We've been through a fight for liberation. We've been through a fight for equality. Now you're in a fight for survival. Will the black man and woman survive the 21st century?
Dr. Umar, I really appreciate it. People wanted to follow you. You know, they wanted to keep up with you, and especially since the school is so near, you're so near that announcement. How can they do that?
Okay, so on Thursday, February 14th, today's Thursday, I believe. So that's exactly 2 weeks now. I'm going to go live on Facebook. My Facebook is Dr. Umar Ifatunde, Ifatunde. That's my Yoruba last name that was given to me. So Dr. Umar Ifatunde on Facebook and on Instagram at Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm going to go live simultaneously on both. And I'm going to announce the location of the first Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Ultimately, we got to have schools all over the country, all over the world, right? So this is just one of many to come, God willing, right? And ancestral supporting. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, when you go to Facebook, you got to make sure you're on the right page. Because my detractors and enemies have created fake pages of mine. So you got people emailing people thinking they're talking to Dr. Umar and they're not. I only got one page, but if you search my name, 20 will pop up. The only page that I have is Dr. Umar Ifatunde, and it has about 393,000 followers. Instagram, I have 407,000 followers. 407,000 followers. That's how you know you got the right person. Also, if any of your parents or listeners need a one-on-one consultation with me, they need to talk to me about their kid, they need me to look at the report, they can always email me, drumarjohnson@yahoo.com, or my website, drumarjohnson.com, or they can text my cell phone. I give my own number out. I've been doing it for years because my life is the liberation. And my cell phone number is 215-989-9858. I'm going to repeat it. 215-989-9858. They can text me on that. They can email me through the website, email me directly. Also, allow me to let your listening audience know, in case they want to come, that I have 2 speaking events I'll be doing in Black History Month. One is in the Bronx, New York City, the Bronx, Boogie Down. I've never been to the Bronx. I've been all through Brooklyn, all through Queens, all through Harlem, never been to the Bronx. Finally getting to the Bronx. I will be speaking at St. Helena's Church, 1315 Olmsted Avenue in the Bronx, New York, on Sunday, February 17th. Sunday, February the 17th, in the Bronx, New York City, at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
The very next Saturday, Saturday, February the 23rd, I'll be speaking in Hamden, Connecticut. Hamden. Hamden, Connecticut. Saturday, February the 23rd, and I believe that is a 4 p.m. program. Okay? So if anybody wants to come to the Bronx on Sunday the 17th of February or Connecticut Saturday the 23rd of February, they can go to drumarjohnson.com and buy the tickets. They can also get them at the door. For all of my events, all children 17 and younger are free. So it's no need for them not to be there. I can't stand when mothers and fathers come to my lectures by themselves. But you got 3 teenagers. They need to be there and hear this and get this so we can wake their lazy asses up. And elders 65 and older are free. They don't need no tickets whatsoever. Everybody else can get the tickets online, tickets at the door. Bronx and Connecticut is going down. And Bronx is 3 days after I make my announcement.
Right.
So that's going
So it's going to be a big buzz.
Yeah.
Brother Umar, anything else? Anything come to mind you want to share with our listeners?
This is the last thing I want to say.
Sure.
Because a lot of people will hear this and say, damn, do we have a chance? I mean, it sounds like, yes, we have a chance. There's an African proverb that says every time a new African baby is born, that's a message from God that he hasn't given up on us yet. Or she hasn't given up on us yet. So every time you see a new baby, that means God still got faith in us that we can fix this. We are the chosen people. It ain't about being no Hebrew. It ain't about being no Jew. We're the first seed. We're the first child. The Bible says, blessed be the firstborn. We're the firstborn of the Almighty. God gave us the richest piece of land, Africa. God gave us the most intelligent people. God gave us melanin with the same color as the universe. We're the chosen ones. It's not a coincidence that you lived through a millennium. You're about to live through 400 years. You lived through another century. You lived through certain eclipses you ain't seen yet. This last one we just had, we ain't seen another one since. The August 21st, 2017 eclipse. If you look at the universe, God is sending us every message he can. He's sending us every message we can, saying, listen, get y'all shit together. The problem is we've been taught by slavery in exploitative black preachers that we got to wait on the Lord to come and get us. Everybody praying for the Lord. No, the Lord ain't coming to get you. The Lord gave you everything you need to free yourself. God don't work for black people. God works through black people.
Good word, good word. Sonia, anything for the good doctor?
You know
While we...
what? I wish she was here when I had my my men's panel. Last year, I had.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
I had a group of men here, council, like people out in the community, and the topic was the lack of black love in the hood. I get it. I got it. Boyfriend, baby daddy just got out of jail. P.O. said you gotta get a job. Baby mama couldn't even wait for him to get his foot out the door. She told me, I want my money. I didn't even have a place to stay, but I get it. Let me sell some drugs a little bit just so I get some money. Shut her up. I got, I get
It's
that
hard.
stuff. But what happened was there was a shooting in Florida. Young lady had a baby in her hand, and she had mental issues, and the cops had shot her while she was holding her baby, killed her. Philly did a little piece, little march, and I missed it. I caught up with them at the library. I thought everybody was going to resume there, but they didn't. What happened was it was just a follow-up. So, they were talking about a lot of things, and they brought up the Florida thing, and I noticed and I asked that generally when we had these protesters and marches, it used to be men front line, women, children, somewhere. Now it's the ladies, and I was wondering, where are our black men? I get it, I got it, I don't condone y'all doing illegal stuff. Like I said, you got baby mama all up your behind, she got her finger all up. I get that part. But shy of that, where are the black men in the community? Why are we not finding a lot of them? They drifting off like you were touching on. We got black men with the white women and and what happened? So it came out. It came out kind of nice. It was, I tried to do a follow up. I had the ladies on. The topic on that one was, oh my God, it made me forget what it was. But are we bitter or we misunderstood?
Both.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Because I was literally within blocks. I walked by and you can hear Becky, no disrespect, she was on the phone and she was.
Did you say Becky?
Well, she was on the phone and oh my God. But this is as far as her conversation went. 2 blocks later, I lied to you not. I'm walking down the street. Why did I hear Rashima on the phone? Oh, now you. And I'm like, why am I still listening to you 2 blocks later on the phone? So I'm like, wow, that was interesting. She was loud, but she was to herself. I get down here and I'm listening to her, and she's like, so I did that, and I asked, I had State Rep Morgan Cephas on, I had a lady from Delaware come on, a few other, and they didn't make it, and it was just asked, are we bitter? We just misunderstood, and then I had the youth come on and said, are you in a rush? Are they really in a rush to hug the grave? Because our youth were being shot, and there was a lot of YouTubes going on with us beating each other up, and everybody wanted to film it and thought it was cute and cool, and I'm like, do y'all really want to die? Like, what's going on with us?
I got a couple points, if I can.
Go ahead.
Point number 1. Apples don't fall far from trees. Mm-hmm. When I see kindergarten students competing over who got the best sneakers, who had more money spent on them for Christmas, you're not born with that. You learn it. When I see first graders calling each other ugly, you too black, you too yellow, your hair too nappy, your lips too, right?
Right.
They weren't born with that. They learn it at home. We are breeding nigglets. That's exactly what we're doing. And we're raising killers. And nobody wants to admit it. Nobody wants to admit it. See, there's a myth that slavery destroyed the black family. Not true. We remained married all through slavery. Look at the statistics. You don't see a decline in 2-parent-headed households until 1970. And as we said earlier, what happened in 1970? The deindustrialization of the black community.
Right.
In other words, they made the black man economically irrelevant to the black woman. Let me say it again. They made the black man economically irrelevant to the black woman. When they started locking up black men in the 70s and 80s, the black woman should have fought for her man to be liberated so he could come home to his family. So guess what the white man said? He said, we can't have the black man and black woman working together. We cannot allow the black man and the black woman to work together. So this is what we're going to do. When we lock his ass up, we want to give her welfare. Not because we care about her or her kids, but we need her to not need to depend on him. So when we lock him up, we're going to give her food stamps. We're going to give her Section 8. We're going to give her aid to family with dependent children. We're going to give her health care. We're going to give her, the government, everything that a man normally provides. So this way, he's totally useless to the woman from an economic standpoint. And when he gets out of jail, she'll have her doctorate. She'll have her master's. She'll have her own business. She'll be working for the mayor. She's already been indoctrinated enough to not want to be bothered with the black man, and instead will be looking for a white man. Let me say this. The black man is the only man in America. The black man is the only man in America whose woman does not need him to survive economically. He's the only man in America whose woman does not have to respect him in order to survive. He's the only man in America whose woman doesn't even have to talk to him before she makes a decision. We have been politically castrated, and we have been politically castrated and economically castrated, and the problem is that the government, working with the black church, has convinced black women that this Holocaust, this economic Holocaust against black men is all about poor morals. This ain't about no damn morals. This is about dollars and cents. No man is in a rush to get married if he can't clear for his family. You follow me? When men have jobs, weddings go up. When men don't have jobs, weddings go down. And the white feminist movement has convinced the black feminist movement, which shouldn't even exist because the black man ain't the black woman's problem. The white man is the black woman's problem. But see, so busy staring in his blue eyes, she can't tell that he's the perpetrator of all this, right? The white woman convinced the black woman to separate the black man's political predicament from his behavior. The white woman has convinced the black woman to separate the black man's economic reality from his behavior. So because they eliminate the fact that he can't find a job, and they eliminate the fact that he got 2 felonies on his record, they eliminate all this to say he's just a bad person. He's not responsible. He don't want to do better. He's lazy. He just wants to rob and steal and sell dope. That ain't the case. Do we got some men who are degenerates? Of course. So do whites. So do Jews. So do Chinese. Degeneracy is not the product of any one people or culture. But they have convinced every black woman in Philadelphia that if the black man ain't doing right, it's because he ain't right. So let's go back 60 years in America. I'm just putting in my back-end battery because I'm on Instagram Live, by the way.
Okay.
I got 750 people watching.
That's right.
Go back 60 years. Who were the drug dealers? Who was running the guns? Who had the gangs? Who was counterfeiting money? Who was selling the dope? I'll tell you who. Jews, Irish, Italians. What happened in 1940? The United States government decided to make Jews, Irish, and Italians white people. They were not considered white before 1940. Anybody can do their research. And then after they made them white, guess what they did? They gave them an economic stimulus package. They gave the Irish the police departments. They gave the Italians the fire departments. They gave the Jews the civil service jobs in all of your major metropolitan areas. I don't care if you in Philly, New York, Trenton, who own them city jobs and who decide who get married? Jewish Americans, right? Who gets the jobs? All we did was take over the criminal enterprise that ethnic Europeans left. Nobody said the Italians was born to sell dope. Nobody said the Irish was born to get drunk. Nobody said the Jews was born to sell the drugs. You follow what I'm saying? But soon when the black man sells the same drugs and dope that the Irish and the Jews were peddling, something's wrong with our DNA. We were born like this. We just have bad moral values. But I never said that about the Italians and the Irish. We're doing the same thing they did. The only difference is we can't be made white. We black forever. The only difference is they gave them an economic stimulus package. They've given us nothing.
Wow.
And that's why whenever you discuss black problems, if you notice, whenever you discuss black problems, they never want you to give them a history of the problem. Have you ever noticed when they had these conversations on TV? They said, well, slavery ended 153 years ago. Can we stop bringing that up? No, we can't. Because every problem black people got, slavery is the original catalyst. And then you bring up the civil rights era and Jim Crow and Willie Lynch. And guess what they say? That was 50 years ago. Can we stop talking about it? And guess what my answer is? Sure. We can stop talking about it as soon as you tell European Jews to stop bringing up Hitler's Holocaust, because that also was over 50 years ago. So if the Jews can talk about their Holocaust every day, all day, and produce 3 movies a year about it, I can talk about mine. What's good for the Jew is good for the African.
All right.
Guess you heard that one.
Brother Umar kicked it. Look, we gonna thank you because you have
No problem. Thank y'all.
you know, you've been around the world.
February 14th.
February 14th. One more time, Brother Umar.
I don't know what time I'm gonna go live. I'm gonna just pop on. I'm gonna announce it the day before though.
Okay.
A part of me says go live at midnight. Part of me says go live around noon. Another part of me says go live at 5 when everybody coming from. Whatever the spirit just dropped. But it will be February 14th.
And
Disaster strikes.
And one more time.
Sure.
People who want to follow you, people who want to, on social media, give your contact again.
If you want to follow me on social media, drumarjohnson.com. You can email me, drumarjohnson@yahoo.com. Instagram and Twitter at Dr. Umar Johnson. That's Instagram and Twitter, DRUMAR Johnson at Yahoo. Facebook, I use a different last name, only for Facebook, Dr. Umar Ifatunde. Go to the website, drumarjohnson.com. Please donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Checks and money orders payable to FDMG Academy to P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia 19132. It's been 400 years. It's been 400 years. This year, we're going to fix it. I'm claiming it. This year, we going to fix it. And anybody who wants to help me fix it, I will be hosting some meetings in February and March. I don't have them set yet, but I'll let you guys know so y'all can help announce. Free meetings where people can come and we can talk about what we can do to make the world better, make our communities better without no handouts from the white man. One of the problems I got when I go to these meetings in Philadelphia, these political meetings to deal with drugs, deal with gangs, deal with violence, deal with homelessness, deal with unemployment. You know what the first thing that gets brought up? How can we get some funding from the government? Black people spend $2 trillion a year. Black people spend $2 trillion a year. You got Chinese people who can't even speak English waiting in Shanghai and Beijing with a one-way ticket on the cheapest airline they could find to the quickest black ghetto in America. And once they get here, they're going to get so rich off black folks, they're going to put every Chinese child they got through college. What the hell you mean we poor? If we're poor, how can Chinese get rich off us? If we're poor, how can the Arabs get rich off us? If we're poor, how can the European Jews get rich off us? We ain't poor, we got a poor mentality. We ain't poor, we got a poor mentality. Black people are 2 trillion. We're the richest group of blacks in the world. We're only 50 million strong, but we're the richest group of blacks in the world. 2019 is the year of African resurrection.
And you heard it right here, Philly Hot Radio. That was the voice of Dr. Umar Johnson, who blessed us with his presence. And he's wearing that Garvey sweatshirt. And
shout out to RBGTs from Phoenix. Make sure y'all go on the website. RBGTs out of Phoenix. Brother Henry, Sister Shalana. They gifted me this at my last lecture of 2013. December 30th, I spoke in Dallas, Texas at the Texas Theater. Same place, James Earl Ray. Not James Earl Ray. Who was the guy who allegedly murdered President Kennedy?
What was his name?
James Earl Ray was king. Who killed Kennedy? Jack Ruby killed the killer who killed Kennedy. And I can't remember his name.
I can't
but that
remember
guy who shot, he didn't really do it. But the guy they say shot Kennedy hid out in the Texas Theater. And that's why I did my last lecture of 2013. And one of the vendors was RBGTs, a brother and sister out of Phoenix. They drove up to Texas and they gave me the Garvey. So shout out to the RBGTs. And those Nat Turner hoodies is coming back soon because I do my own I Am Nat Turner.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
One time I was in the airport, white man walked up to me. He said, "Are you really Nat Turner?" I said, "Damn, you try me cracker, damn straight. I'm gonna eat your ass up in this airport." Yeah, I'm Nat Turner. They always want to test us because they're not used to black men being unapologetic.
Right.
They're not used. We're very beta male-ish now. Very beta male-ish now. You walk into most of our universities, you go to most of our politicians, you look at most of our pastors, there's a softness. I'm not saying they're homosexual, but there's a softness in their demeanor. We got to bring that hard backbone back because our women and our children need it.
You know, Brother Umar, I was about to let you go, but it brings up a pet peeve, another pet peeve, this pet peeve number 2, Greek letter societies. You know, I said something on Facebook, I said, and somewhere in Greece, are there a bunch of Greek people wearing African dashikis with African?
No one imitates another culture. However, in partial defense of the Greek fraternities, I believe they grew out of a need for the black intelligentsia to disguise its agenda to help black folks. Remember that. The Masons are the fathers of the Greeks. And the first black Mason was a Pan-Africanist, Prince Hott. The Masonry was originally, for blacks, another route to assist our brothers who were above ground, below ground. But I would agree with you that I think that our Divine Nine have gotten far away from their original function. I think the black Greek societies could do a lot of good. And I think there are some chapters that are in fact doing good things. But I concur with you. There needs to be a revolution in consciousness amongst the Divine Nine. Because represented in that group are a lot of powerful black folks. And if they could just conscientize their agenda, the Divine Nine could save black America if they wanted to. Black Greek lettered fraternities and sororities could save us if they wanted to. The problem is, so many of them are members of the black bourgeoisie organized against us.
I'm so waiting for an African letter society.
There is one. There's one, Bowie State University in Maryland. They started an African-centered secret society.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I'm
And
talking
they're using
about.
African symbols in the whole nine.
That's what I'm talking
Yes, sir.
about.
You got a couple of them.
It's
popping up.
that time. It's that time. It's time to stop calling ourselves other things. I'm not hating, if that's where
But
you
the
are.
first Greeks were black. We were the first to settle and civilize Greece. So the first Greeks were black. But to your point, most of the Greek letter fraternities don't know that. They're
Right.
not imitating us. They're imitating the Europeans. But
Right.
again, I understand the clandestine and strategic reason for why they're blending in with the letters. Because the art of war is deception. So if you're going to call yourself a Greek, make good by doing something for your people so we can understand why you're disguised as a Greek. That's all. Like I hear black people say, no black man should be a cop. No black person should be in the FBI. No black person should be in Homeland Security. No black person should be a Republican. I don't agree. The white man has infiltrated every black organization, every black major movement, right?
Right.
You gotta have spies. Intelligence is critical. You can't play without it. The problem is when we become police, we gotta stay loyal. Bring the information back.
Right.
When we go to the U.S. Congress, stay loyal. Bring the information back. If you're gonna be FBI, stay loyal. Call me up, Dr. Umar. You don't even know me. You don't even know who I am. But I'm an FBI agent. This is what they're up to right now. You follow what I'm saying? Just bring up, because I get bougie blacks to say, I can't do what you do, Doc. They'll kill me. I'm too high up. You ain't got to do what I do. Just give me the intelligence, brother. Let us know so we can plan. I'll give you an example. Right now, they're gentrifying black America, right?
Right.
I grew up in North Philly, 8th and Susquehanna. White folks is buying up North Philly like it's no tomorrow.
Eating it up.
I don't blame Darryl Clark and Kenyatta Johnson and all the other blacks on City Hall for the takeover. I don't blame them for the real estate takeover. I blame them for not telling us. I blame them for not preparing us. And Kenyatta's a friend of mine. We went to college together.
Yeah.
I blame them for not telling us. I know you can't stop it, but at least tell the hood, y'all better buy up everything y'all can find. Because soon when 2000 gets here, they coming to take it all back. If we would have knew that, we would have been prepared. The problem with the black bourgeoisie, they're not preparing us to protect our interests. And that's why they're guilty.
Wow. Good point. Good point. Brother Umar, we thank you again. Didn't I tell y'all, Philly Hot listeners, didn't I tell you we was headed for some stimulating conversations?
You sure
And
did.
I told you, right?
Sure
I
did.
prophesied
You
that.
want to sleep up here?
So look, I want y'all to listen to what you heard, whether you agree or disagree, whatever, but listen. Listening
And they don't
is...
have to be robots. I want
You
to be
don't-
clear.
right.
I don't speak for people to agree with me. I know it's the truth, but I don't need them to know it's the truth. My job when I do an interview is to stimulate you to think independently for yourself. To not just go along with what CNBC says, what CNN says, what Donald Trump says. My job is to create independent thinkers. We don't have to agree on everything. We just have to agree on certain things. Independent thought is what I'm looking to create. And an independent thinker cannot be a robot. So I'm not looking to make robots.
All right, well, there you go, Philly Hot Radio listeners. Thank you, Sony of the Sony Show. Thank you again, Dr.
Thank you
Umar,
so
for
much, Dr. Umar.
always stimulating. But we're gonna go ahead and play something for you guys. You've been blessed. You've been. Go ahead, do your research. Go ahead and get into your closets and do your contemplation and all of that, and decide what you want to do to enhance our struggle. And we're gonna play something good for you. You got my music?
Oh, I keep forgetting.
My song's not gonna play?
Yeah, I told you I left it in Hong Kong. They said they was gonna send it over to Germany.
Well, you won't be listening to my music. You'll be listening to a facsimile
it
thereof.
said about 3 months for me to get it. They got to Canada, Russia, and then head over.
I just get a feeling my song will never play, so I'm just gonna submit on that point because I'll never win. All right, so we're gonna see you all next week. The Sony Show, 5 o'clock. Make sure you in the house. www.phillyhotradio.com. www.phillyhot2ts.com.